Yes, I am a through and through fentanyl survivor, man. I overdosed 6 times on that substance. But before we get into it, be sure to smash the like button, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment if you got any questions. Today, we're going to be kind of going over my overdoses, how I survived them, and ultimately how I got clean from the drugs. So, just to give you a little backdrop on who I am, what I come from, and how my addiction started. I've been I've been clean for over a year now, but my substance abuse started at around 15 years old. I started playing around with drugs. I quickly found out that opiates was my drug of choice. I loved it. I loved it a little too much, but I started my fentanyl around the age of 30 years old. A girl I was messing with at the time, she was doing it. She introduced me to it. She actually dropped a pill in my car. I talked about that in a previous video, like in depth about that. But I ended up finding the pill. I ended up doing it. I ended up liking it. And I ended up hitting her back up for some more. So she became my plug for a long time. Now, my fentanyl addiction lasted a good 2 years before I finally made the decision to get clean. And before I did, I had lost everything. The drug took everything from me. So if you think it can't happen to you, think again, it can. Because it happened to me, and I thought that it couldn't happen to me. Now, I had beat drug addiction, opioid addiction once before when I was 26 years old. So when I started doing it again, I kind of thought I could keep it under control. And as an addict, you never can keep it under control. So if you're the type of person that thinks that way, think again. You're never going to be able to keep it under control. So my first overdose, I was hanging out with friends. We ended up getting a hold of a blue M30, a blue M30. A lot of people know them as blue M30s. Counterfeit pill. They look just like a Roxy 30 that comes from a pharmacy, but it ain't. It's fentanyl. I ended up doing a small little bump of that pill that night. We crushed it up, snorted it, whatever. And I overdosed. The people I was with, they did not Narcan me. They did not call the hospital. I'm lucky to be alive. They carried me inside, laid me in a recliner, and left me there. Thank God I woke up the next day. I woke up really in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. I woke up. I couldn't hardly breathe. I couldn't hardly move. It literally took me 10 minutes to get myself out of this recliner, which means that I had a pounding headache. I came within an inch of my life that night. Didn't even know it. Didn't even know what happened. Well, later on, I would go on to find out that that was in fact an overdose, because I would overdose several more times after that. The second time that I overdosed, I was actually in a hotel room. Now, the crazy story about this overdose was I'm an impatient person. I was introverted. I would usually get my drugs. I would go home and I'd do them by myself. That's the way I like to get high, and I would just chill by myself. That's just the way I like to do it, you know. But this particular day, it was taking the lady that was getting my fentanyl a little bit longer to get it. And I was getting impatient. It ended up taking her about 45 minutes. So before I actually left, this saved my life. Before I actually left the hotel room that she was staying at, I went ahead and took me a couple of hits. I would smoke my fentanyl on aluminum foil with a straw. That's just how I would do my shit. So I take a couple of hits, two hits. I go to take one hit. I feel like I'm not really feeling anything. I go to take another hit, and that was the last thing I remember. Next thing I know, I'm waking up with ice in my pants. The police are pulling up. I try to lie to the police. I end up telling them what had happened. So, and for the people out there that are scared to call the police, you can save somebody's life like this. They're not going to take you to jail. There's a Good Samaritan law that's in place in most states, I think in all 50 states, that if somebody overdoses around you, you can call the police. They're not going to take you to jail, because used to people would just leave people because they were scared to call the police because people were going to jail. So they would just leave you or take you to the hospital, dump you out, whatever. And people were losing their life that way. They were dying. So never be scared to call the police if somebody overdoses. But the police get there. I end up telling them what I did, and then the ambulance pulls up. The people I was with, they end up Well, later on, I end up finding out that they had hit me 5 times with Narcan. 5 times. It took me to come back to. They take me to the hospital. They got to watch me for like 5-6 hours because they said the Narcan can wear off and the drug can still be in my system. And if that happens, see, Narcan acts as a wall and it blocks the opioid. And if the Narcan wears off before the opioid wears off, it can come back in and you can go back into an overdose. So the hospital had to watch me for a few hours. They end up releasing me. I go back to the place I was at. I get my car, and then I leave. Lo and behold, I would be doing fentanyl the next day. It didn't teach me anything. It didn't. And I want this to be a testimony as to how, addictive this drug is and how strong it is. If you got a family member or you know somebody that's going through it, they need help. They need serious help. Probably a rehab, a treatment center, something. Because it's very hard to stop on your own, and you'll justify reasons in your head to keep doing the drug, which is what I did. I would go on to overdose several more times after that. I remember pulling over on the side of the interstate one time to take a couple of hits of my fentanyl, and I overdosed on the side of the interstate, literally in my car, just sitting there, overdosed. And I woke up like 2 hours later with my car still running. Thank God that the police didn't pull up, take me to jail for having drugs on me. But yeah, I ended up with like, and the funny thing is me and my girlfriend was supposed to go out that night and have a good time and everything. I woke up with like 90 missed calls on my phone, 100 different messages, a pounding headache, and that's how you know. That's always how you know when you overdose, is when you've got that headache, because the oxygen has been cut off to your brain. That didn't make me stop using fentanyl. I would go on to overdose several more times. So I think the 4th or the 5th time I overdosed, I was actually getting ready for work, and I took a couple of hits of my fentanyl before I went into work, and I ended up overdosing on my bed and waking up several hours later, late for work. I ended up calling in that night. I remember this like it was yesterday. I ended up calling into work that night. I didn't go in. Pounding headache again. Survived. I survived these overdoses. So the 5th or 6th time that I overdosed, and this is one of the most memorable. Now, I have a scar. I don't know if you can see it. Where's it at? It might be on this side. Let me see if I can. Yeah, you can kind of see it. That scar right there, that white mark. I overdosed with a cigarette in my mouth. A cigarette in my mouth. Overdosed. And it burnt down into my lip. I woke up several hours later again. Every time I would overdose, I would wake up several hours later. And this time I had a big burn on the side of my face because the cigarette burnt down in my lip. And that still didn't stop me from using fentanyl. What stopped me from using fentanyl is hitting rock bottom. Just like so many other addicts, you hit rock bottom. A lot of people have to hit rock bottom before they stop. So I had hit my rock bottom. I had lost everything, lost my job. I was fixing to lose my place to live. And a family member that lived way out of state, 2 hours away from my hometown, offered me to come up there because I felt like that was my only option. I didn't really look into treatment centers or anything like that. So I took my family member on their opportunity because that was my only option. I had no other way out. If I stayed in my hometown, I couldn't get clean in my hometown. I just couldn't do it. There was no way I could do it. So I moved away. I started my detox process, went through the worst withdrawals of my life. Brutal withdrawals. Fentanyl withdrawals are extremely brutal. And yeah, started my getting clean process, and then I started my YouTube channel. Then I went and started a TikTok, started a Facebook, and I've been pretty successful on social media this far. And my goal is to help you watching this or anybody going through the same, addiction that I went through, because I know exactly what you're going through. and now I'm a year clean. So I just want to let you know, if I can do it, you can do it. It does get better. It does get better. If you need help, I'm going to leave all my information in the description. Be sure to click the link, reach out to me. I'll do whatever I can do to get you some help. Also, this is a YouTube demonetizes my content. I don't get paid for this content that I make. So if you would like to support the channel and help me out, I will leave my Cash App, my PayPal in the description. And any donations are highly appreciated. But that's it, guys. Be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Peace out.